Here we are just days away from the end of August and the preseason quickly coming to a close this weekend. I love this 3-game preseason slate. The 4-game preseason schedule always was a joke. It was a farce just designed for NFL owners to make more money. Players didn't like it. The coaches didn't like it. I've got to tell you, here at the site, the handicappers and you, the gamblers, you've loved it because it has been a bonanza for all of us in terms of the winning percentage. Personally, I've had more preseason plays this month than I have had the past 4 or 5 years combined. Why? Because the condensed schedule and the emphasis on joint practices with teams and then playing that team a couple days later has made it so much easier to research and get a handle on the strategy of the various coaches going into the subsequent games, getting an idea of what their player rotation is going to be, and thus making it easier to handicap the games and produce winners. And you've seen the result top to bottom from the handicappers here at the site. And information is power in the preseason. It comes down to really your quarterback rotations, who's going to start, more importantly, who's going to finish, because it's the only position that really matters on the field in the preseason. So with that in mind, I've got a complimentary play coming up here tonight on the game between the Carolina Panthers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. But first, I just want to remind you of one thing. Every single year, in the 19 years since I created these sites, this is the time that I release the biggest single incentivized promotion of the year. The single biggest discount. You can save 30% on your total purchase price by using coupon code 30%. And that's good for any combination of picks and or packages. The only stipulation, you've got to put everything in your shopping cart at one time to maximize your savings. Why do I release it this weekend? Because I want to make it available to those of you that have been here during the dog days of summer. Because you are the guys that, like me, understand that you can make money betting baseball. Because in this business, if you had a big pie, 100% of the people play and gamble during the football season, and then maybe about 90%, 85% of them gamble during March Madness, and maybe about 40% still stay around during the NBA playoffs, and less than 10 to 15% then stay through the baseball season and are still here in preseason football. So I want to give you the biggest single discount of the entire season. Now, there will be a discount, but it will be smaller when everybody else trickles back the first weekend of the NFL season. But that's why I give you the biggest single discount of the entire year, 30%. Again, using the coupon code 30%, it's effective today. Take advantage of it and maximize your savings. Now, let's get to your complimentary play tonight. Interesting thing. Pittsburgh originally opened as a 4-point favorite in this game, and then Carolina switched to a 4-point favorite when Mike Tomlin announced that very few of his starters were going to see any action tonight. And it makes sense because, remember, the Steelers and the Cowboys played in the Hall of Fame games, so they are the only teams to play 4 games this preseason. So the Steelers have the advantage of having the extra game under their belt. So you are not going to see Ben Roethlisberger tonight, and you are not going to see Mason Rudolph tonight. Instead, Dwayne Haskins, who really was never being considered for the backup job here behind Roethlisberger, but has solidified his spot as the number 3 quarterback on the roster, is going to get the start. Now, he has played exceptionally well in the preseason, completing about 66% of his passes. He hasn't really produced a lot of points in his possessions, but he's going to get the start, and the second half is probably going to go to Joshua Dobbs, who is trying to fight his way on the roster. But really probably doesn't have much of a chance because, again, Haskins has probably earned that spot. But they are going to be playing with the deep reserves here tonight for the Steelers. Now, by comparison, Carolina, Sam Darnold, the anointed savior now, the latest one for the Panthers at quarterback, well, he just played with the starters one single series in last weekend's loss to the Baltimore Ravens. Threw 2 passes, completed 1 for 16 yards. While tonight, Matt Rule has said that he, Darnold, and the starters are going to play about one half. Well, that's big because it's about time Carolina gets their offense going, because Carolina's offense was absolutely pathetic last week against Baltimore. And it's true that Baltimore did play a substantial number of its starters and used a lot of blitz packages, surprisingly, in the first half against the Panthers last week. But the Panthers' problem last year was scoring in the red zone, which is why Teddy Bridgewater was exiled. And the Panthers' problems, well, they've continued in the red zone, 1 for 7 in scoring touchdowns so far in 2 preseason games. Now, true, P.J. Walker and Will Grier have done the bulk of the quarterbacking, but again, tonight you're going to have Darnold and the starters. Christian McCaffrey, however, is not going to be playing tonight. Then when Darnold leaves, you're going to see either P.J. Walker, who had a great first game against the Colts, 10 for 21, 161 yards, but a lousy second game against the Ravens, 1 for 8 yards. And then Will Grier, who has put up some decent numbers, the West Virginia grad, 11 for 14, 144 yards against the Ravens last week, but again has not managed to get the Colts points from his possessions. Will probably see the backup duty. Carolina also has some issues with their place kicker. Joey Sly has been miserable in practice, 5 for 7 in field goals during the game, missed an extra point in last week's game against the Ravens as well. They went out and acquired the Giants' backup kicker this week in a trade to give him some competition. So they have some issues on special teams too. But again, when you look at this game and you look at the line, I'm going to do and recommend the same thing I did for the Monday night game when I picked up a 15-dime best bet winner with New Orleans, when I backed the Saints in the first half with Jameis Winston starting, and they dominated Jacksonville 17-3. Tonight, I think the way to play this particular game is to go ahead and take Carolina minus the 3.5 points in the first half of this game, because I do think that Josh Dobbs, as he showed in the Hall of Fame game, will be able to move the offense for the Steelers. And I got to tell you something. Carolina's defense has shown me nothing so far in the preseason. And again, the Carolina defense that you will be seeing in the second half of the game is the same defense that you've seen in the first 2 games of the preseason. A bunch of second and third stringers fighting for their roster spots with cutdown day looming. So I'm going to go with the Carolina starters and Darnold against Pittsburgh and Dwayne Haskins and the Steelers backups. Minus the 3.5 in the first half. That's the way I think you play this game, rather than risking Carolina minus 4 to 4.5 for the entirety of the game. I know a lot of guys out there don't think playing first half proposition type of plays is a wise investment. And I'm telling you, in the preseason, it's the way to go, because you know what the rotations are. So why not take advantage of it? Because do you really want your money on guys that are going to be watching games 2 weeks from now, like you and I, on TV? No, that's not a prudent financial strategy. So again, Carolina in the first half is the way to go in that game. Good luck, everybody, and probably talking to you tomorrow. Good luck, everybody.